right. Hello, beautiful, wonderful, amazing, spectacular tea people. Today is an impromptu live. I'm going to be drinking some Alishan Milk Firefly tea on this, as you can see, quite rainy and thankfully not noticeably moving. Beautiful morning in the spring here in Hualien, Taiwan. So, haven't heard a lot from me for the last little while because there have been between 1 and 3,000 earthquakes in the past 36 hours. So 1 in 3,000 earthquakes in the past little while. So I don't know if you can imagine what that sort of feels like. None of them were particularly, well, I mean, I think the biggest was 6.3, so that's pretty big, but not for us, the strange people that live here in Hualien. It wasn't that bad. But the ground has literally been shaking nonstop for about 36 hours. Now, last night I got a full night's sleep, thankfully. The kids didn't, like we all slept in the same room and all that, but the kids didn't wake me up, which was nice. But what we are looking at was a bunch of aftershocks here in Hualien, and those aftershocks were nonstop. They were literally nonstop. So I haven't been able to do much. Obviously, I haven't been sleeping all that much. So all of the packages have been sent out. Somebody some very nice person just bought a bunch of tea a couple of seconds ago. So that's going to be what I do after this. So after the live stream, I'm going to go and I'm going to pack up some tea, and then all the teas that I've gotten so far, I will send them out today. But like I said, it's been literally thousands of earthquakes over the past 36 hours. And that's not an exaggeration. It's been thousands. And, the biggest, like I said, the biggest was 6.3. There was a bunch above 5. There's a few above 6. And what's happened sort of damage-wise, I don't think it really hit the news as much as the 7.2 one did. But there was a lot of buildings that were already Hongtie, but basically means they got a red sign. So if the building got a red sign, then it's got to be demolished. And so there's a bunch of those buildings that sort of that were like ready to be demolished, but then went book like this. And so now they're really, really ready to be demolished. So that's sort of what's been going on here in Hualien, and why I haven't been doing too many live streams. Like literally yesterday, if I was doing a live stream, it would have been like this. Because the earthquakes were just so insane. And it's a weird thing too, right? So when you're looking at earthquakes, you're looking at as how earthquakes move around and how earthquakes do things. The big ones hit the news. It's doing that thing again. The big ones hit the news, but the smaller ones are the ones that you just feel. And like I said, it's just been constantly moving and moving and moving. And so I don't even trust myself all that much anymore. Like I'm constantly dizzy, and that's something that you can definitely hear about that. Now, right now, I am drinking this. We just got this back in stock. It's the Alishan Firefly Milk Oolong, and it's one of my favorite teas of all time. And I can't get the spring. So I can only get the wintertime version of this tea, and I can't get the spring because the spring tea is turned into the Alishan Gaba. All right, so spring tea, all of the Jinshren, all of the milk oolong is turned into the Alishan Gaba. And I prefer to have the Alishan Gaba than this. But the reason I drink this tea is just because it's so, it's just a calming, consistent, beautiful tea. And right now, I was getting ready to go on sort of the big sourcing trip for the spring. I think I still will next week, depending, of course, on what all the earthquakes do and all of that. But I might take my family with me. We'll just see how it goes. I've been diving into too many things on the internet that I shouldn't. But Teas all over the island are getting picked. I've heard nothing but good things, right? Literally nothing but good things. It's not too dry. It's not too wet. And I'm really, really hoping that we get some really, really, really special teas this spring. I think we will. I think we'll get some really, really special teas this spring. Now, if you look behind me, you can see the mountains. They are drenched in rain, covered in mist. And this is, the weather that you want. We've had about a week of, high mid 20s sunny weather. Now we're getting the rain. And then in the high mountains, they're going to be starting to pick sort of in the next week or two. So we're looking at just the perfect weather, So I'm hoping that the 2024 season is just going to be an absolute banger. But the goals for this year is to get the teas. I want to get some new Alishan teas. I want to get some really good Alishan teas, and I want to get the teas from Mr. Chen. And those are the sort of the new. I got to figure out how to turn that off. Anyways, if you go like this on Instagram, then it gives you a thumbs up. I forget what's the other one. Is it this one or something, or like? Anyways, there's another one that does it. Gives you like happy birthday or something. Or I think that one's racist now or something like that. Anyways, sorry, it's hard to keep up with everything here in Asia. But it's new teas, new trip, all that different stuff. I'm really, really looking forward to. And that's going to be next week. And that's going to be, like I said, I think I'm going to go with my family. I think we'll just take a week off and we'll go up into the mountains and I'll show them some of this stuff and it'll be a ton of fun. Now you can see behind me there, like I said, that's the mountains. You can't really see too much. Right now. But anybody have any questions about earthquakes or the spring tea or about this beautiful tea that I'm drinking at the moment, actually? And one of the reasons why I love this tea so much is because it's from Alishan. It's got the thick mouthfeel. It's clean, and it doesn't have it's got the thick mouthfeel with all the really, the creamy, sweet, and fresh florals and fruit, classic Alishan taste, but without the horrible aftertaste and sort of heart palpitations of the nasty chemical fertilizers. Right. So this is a clean garden. They're not certified organic, but it's a clean garden. And the reason they're not certified organic, even though they are, is because they're already really famous. So they're like already super famous, this garden. And because they're already so super famous, they don't need to do anything extra to sell their teas. Like their teas sell out just like that. And I'm so happy now because before when I would get in touch with them, I would say, okay, I need like this much, a couple kilograms or not very much, and they'd be like, oh, okay. And now, thanks to all the people watching this, of course, when I order tea, I order like a big thing of tea. And so it's like, it's so smooth and so nice and everybody's happy. But that's, like I said, this is back online. It's back in stock, but this is the wintertime. The springtime, you cannot get the springtime tea, the Jin Chuan springtime tea. Every ounce of that tea is turned into GABA. So every ounce is turned into the GABA. But yeah, this beard is getting thick. I've either got to buzz it or I don't know what I should do. It's funny. In Taiwan, a beard like this is unheard of. Like unheard of. You just, like this type of beard, like it's not even well coiffed. It's just a beard. And, people in Taiwan can't grow a beard like this. And so, I've got the sort of the white peppery stuff here at the front. And so now when I go places, people just assume I'm in my 60s or something like that. Like I went to go buy a box of bees, 2 boxes of bees actually. And I was talking, we're talking about kids and things like that. And they're like, oh, you and your kids, you must be so far apart in age, like you must have had kids when you were super old. I'm like, well, no, no, I'm only in my 40s. He's like, really? So it's pretty funny. I don't know how much longer it'll last though. It's just so unique here in Taiwan. Now, like I said, my two goals for this springtime are the Shan Cha, so the mountain teas. I want to get the Alishan Camellia formosensis teas, like those tea balls that I got at the tea show last year. So I got those tea balls at the tea show last year. I want to get those tea balls, and I want to get like all of them. So I want to buy them all and be able to share those tea balls if they're good, which I hope they are. And then the other one is I want to get those really beautiful charcoal roasted teas from the spring. And that reminds me, actually, I should write this down. But that's what I'm going to do as soon as this live stream is over. I'm going to go pack some tea, and then I'm going to go do that. But basically what I did this live stream was just to check in with everybody and just sort of explain to you why I have not been doing anything much. There's been on social media, there's been just everybody's been on edge. There's been, like over 2,000 earthquakes over the past 36 hours. And so it's a bit, just going to sit and drink tea and chill out. Just so you know, the Sencha Green arrived at a friend's today, and the title on the label is 2023. The production date listed. Yeah. That's a well-known bug. The production date. So the Sencha Green tea. The production date on the bottom is the right date, but then I forgot to change the date at the top, which is the 2023. So it says spring 2023, and then the production date is like March 18th, 2024. So it's the right day. And so it's anyways, it's just, I'm getting so old that I don't even look at that stuff anymore. I changed the production date. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 2020. No, it's 2024. Right? It's a new year. I didn't even think about it. Didn't even do anything about it at all, which is unfortunate. But yes, that's just a typo at the top. The production day is right. So it's a known bug at the moment. But anybody who opens up that bag is going to know it's not from this year, or sorry, not from last year. It's a beautiful fresh tea, and it's also anyways, yeah, just like that. Anyways, it tastes great. What region would the Sansha be sourced from? Right. So Sansha, which means mountain tea, which is the Camellia formosensis. And this is the one that I had the tea balls, limited amount of them that I released last maybe November, something like that. I just had about 4 or 5 of the tea balls, and I released those tea balls. And they're really, really special. They're a mix between the Camellia formosensis and the Camellia sinensis, right in between. And so you have both of those tastes going through them. So the chin florals mixed with the sort of the grounded, earthy leaf litter of the Camellia formosensis. Really, really nice, really interesting teas. But it's from Alishan, so it's from the Alishan region. Yeah, it was self-explanatory. Just hoped you knew. Yeah. How I know. I should probably do a post. And that tea I'm really excited about. I'm hoping I can get a bunch of it, because that tea is, if you want to understand the formosensis, then that tea is how you understand it. You get a formosensis, right? Which is the, I feel so bad. So what's happening right now in Taiwan is that, for me, I'm one of the worldwide experts on Camellia formosensis. I just am. I've tasted them all. I've gone to the places. I know them probably better than anybody else, certainly any English speakers. And right now, Taiwan is trying to push the formosensis by itself as a cultivar. And what they're doing with it is they're doing the worst possible thing you can do with the tea, which is you turn it into a normal black tea. And it's interesting, right? It tastes like mushrooms, and it tastes like sweet mushrooms is basically what it tastes like as a black tea. And you try it once, you're like, wow, that's so interesting, and then you never reach for it ever again because who wants to eat, like, and it's not even like show mushrooms. It's like deep fried sweet mushroom. That's sort of the flavor when they make it into a black tea in the lower elevations. And what you can do with that tea is you can make it into a beautiful green tea or like a greenish oolong. You can oxidize it for 2 days, and you can or 3 days, and you can create the like a black tea, like a typically black, like a hei cha, like a Chinese style hei cha, not a red tea, which is a black tea. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about if you're watching some random bearded guy on his back porch with beautiful view, talk about tea like this. But you can do sort of that Chinese processing, and they're pushing this black tea that I just feel bad because people are going to plant these tea trees. They're going to make this tea. The first year they're going to sell it. They're like, we're going to get rich. Who's going to go back to that tea? Right. Especially when teas like this are the ones that sell, right? This is, of course, the beautiful Alishan milk oolong. And so I'm kind of feeling bad for them in that sense. But I'm really looking forward to that tea from Alishan because it's sort of that mix between the two, right? It's the before you go deep into the sancha type stuff. Do you have a preference for Camellia? Formosensis processes black, white, or lightly oxidized? Great question. Of course, the answer all is it depends. In general, I would say Formosensis is better done in Chinese style. So either a Sheng or a Hei Cha. So sun-dried, laid out, pressed into cakes, and aged. That's what I would say. Now the wild East or the wild cultivar East that is turned into a greenish oolong is really one of the most consistent sellers we've ever had on the site, and the people who love that tea love that tea. And I'm not the biggest fan of it, but people just love it. So there's that as well. I think the worst thing you can do to the Formosensis, you can see there's a transport plane coming in. I'll let it go by. But the worst thing you can do to the Formosensis, in my estimation, the worst thing you can do is turn it into a black tea, right? Unless it's a black tea in the sort of hyper oxidized the hei cha version of it, where you basically pile it. You make a show for like 3 days. You add water to it and pile it, and do that. I think you make a really beautiful tea out of that. Another one is sort of down in Taidong. They're famous for their red oolongs, of course, right? Luye. And so they grow the Formosensis, and then they make a red oolong out of the Formosensis. That's also really good. But that's not something that people buy. It's not particularly a popular one. People really like the green stuff. But that might be my fault. I'm sure it's not done right on the website. I got to learn how to do things better on the website. That is for sure. But I quite like my lifestyle right now. So it's like, if I get more orders, then I might have to hire people. Right now, it's just the right amount of orders. It's slowly going up. I'm slowly making myself here in the space more efficient, and it works well. But yes, very good question. And here's a question. I don't pay attention on purpose to any other vendors or any other companies or any other people selling Taiwanese tea. Sometimes it pops up in my feed, and I'm like, go for it, Jayo. But has anybody out there started selling the Formosensis stuff or really marketing it? Any of the other vendors? Have anybody heard of any of the other vendors starting to do it? Because like I said, I'm an expert on it, and I know it really, really well, and I know how hard it is to get high quality, consistent picks of that tea. So I'm just curious whether anybody else has tried. Because if you can pull it off, you can really pull it off. It's great. You can really pull it off. I'm just curious whether anybody else has done it. Do you have a preference for camellia for? Oh, yep, that one answered. The confusion between the red oolong and black tea is always difficult. Yes, the confusion between the red oolong and black tea is always difficult until you actually see the teas themselves, right? Until you see these beautiful balls and then this big brick, and then you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. But yes, trying to describe the processing and trying to describe the well, not so much the flavor profile, but the sort of the processing and all that stuff it's tough. It's tough, right? And just for people that don't know, um, in English we say black tea. In Chinese you say hong cha, which is red, right? So red tea. And there is a black tea in Chinese, and the black tea in Chinese is called hei cha, and it is a version of the post-fermented or pu'er style of teas. And it is highly, highly, highly oxidized, sort of like the show, but very intensely for a very short period of time, whereas the show is more loosely oxidized for a longer period of time. And then the hei cha is, they add water to it, they do it very intensely for 3 days, and then they put it into very, very tight bricks, like these bricks. And that's, in general, there's obviously loose versions of it, but in general, that's the hei cha, or the sort of the black tea, which in English you wouldn't call black tea, you would call it hei cha, right? So, anyways, so if you don't know, that's where it gets all complicated. And then the red oolong is a tea that is oxidized, done just like a normal oolong or like a high mountain oolong, but oxidized longer, and it doesn't usually take that many days, and some people add water to it and some people don't. And then there's also red water oolong, which is not the same as red oolong, which is oxidized in the middle. But red oolong, best way to think of red oolong is it's closest to a black tea, but still on the oolong side of things, right? So black tea, hong cha, so red tea, black tea, sort of right in there on that line. So it's not post-fermented at all. Anyways, that's... I just if anybody didn't already know all that information, I'm probably just confused you even more. So please ask more questions if you want to know. Some Wild Black was sold by Emilio of the Jade Leaf, I recall. Okay, yeah. So he might have some of that. But like I said, if you're out there and you've had some of the stuff that I've done, if you just get like the number 24 made into a black tea with notes of mushrooms and things like that, 10 grams or 25 grams is enough. You don't need more than that, unless you really like the taste of mushrooms in your tea, which, hey, listen, I'm not making a value judgment, right? I'm making a subjective judgment for myself. You like mushrooms, you will be in heaven. I meant red oolong versus hong cha. Yeah, well, so there we go. We've confused everybody so much. It's just brutal. But anyways, I like the red oolong. I feel like the red oolong should sell as much as hong cha, but seems to sell not as much. Yes, and you could argue that for sure. But yes, that's funny. I went off on a rant about both red oolong and black tea, which is red tea, and of course the post-fermented black tea or hei cha from China. But you know what, when I have more time, and when the earthquakes stop, I think I would love to buy a bunch of the fresh leaf from my friend in Luye, because I'm sure I could buy a bunch of that fresh, the Camellia formosensis fresh leaf for pretty cheap. Because if I did like a crazy experiment, he'd be all for it, and I would love to go down there and stay there, and for 3 days, pile it up, sun dry it, and create a Chinese style hei cha. I think that's what next time I go down to Luye, I'm going to start talking to them, because I know I got a pretty good relationship with them. They'd let me do it for sure, 100%. They'd give me the space, they'd give me the leaves, and it would work. Snow Mist Mountain. So, Mr. World, yes, that is the 28th is when they start producing. So the 28th is when they start producing. And what is today's date? The 24th? Well, I guess it's this Sunday or Saturday when they start up there. I do not know whether this year I'll be able to make it up there. And the reason is because I might be able to. I do not know. I do not know whether I'll be able to make it. Probably not, though. I think I'm going to. The earthquakes here have messed up everything. They've messed up everyone's schedules. Like, for example, yesterday, everything was shut down. The entire city was shut down, not because there was all sorts of a bunch of damage. It was because literally the entire area was doing this nonstop for 36 hours, right? And basically it stopped. There's a couple, maybe 4s or 5s last night, but I haven't really felt one this morning, which is nice because it's the first time in like 3 or 4 days where we haven't had some of these aftershocks constantly. And so it sort of disrupted my normal harvesting schedule. So usually I go all over Taiwan and I drive and do all those things because I don't, my boys are 9 and 11, and leaving them when the earth is moving kind of sucks. So I think today and tomorrow, mostly tomorrow, I'm going to sit down with the Tai, and we are going to come up with a plan. And we are going to go sort of to the other side of the island, probably take the kids, go to the other side of the island, travel around for 4 or 5 days, and look at tea and do sort of tea stuff. And we're going to go down there. And so up there is where that Snow Mist Tea Garden is. And so for the first year in 5 or 6 years, I'm probably going to have to skip the Snow Mist, which is too bad because I love it. I love it up there. But the schedule is just so messed up because of all the earthquakes. Still getting in all the teas, right? I also ordered in. There we go. Right now, there's an earthquake. So this one's about a 3, I guess. So I talked about it, I jinxed it, and now there's an earthquake happening live on Instagram and YouTube. Okay, so then when I really want the thumb to come up, it doesn't even do it. Anyways, though that was an earthquake right now. I'm curious to see. Maybe I'll listen back to it whether you actually heard the earthquake, because you can hear them, right? The way I describe it is if you live above a subway, and you hear that. Whoa. Thankfully, I have not lived above a subway for much of my life, a brief period of time, but that's exactly what it sounds like. Exactly what it sounds like and feels like as well, although it can get bigger, obviously. But I think what we're going to do is go with the family and go and travel around and go do some tea stuff and sort of get out of Dodge for a bit. But I think that's what we'll probably do next week. Oh, right. Well, what I was going to say. So I've just ordered in a bunch of the 1970s oolong, and I've ordered in a bunch of the 1980s wui. And I should get that by the end of the week. And those are going to have some samples in it of heicha and a bunch of aged show. And so I'm quite looking forward to that. So I'll be doing some live streams. Maybe. If the earth stops moving. So we'll be doing some live streams with those types of things. I'm going to be bringing in some. So, I get a lot of my HT, not all of it, but a lot of the HT from one place. And I respect them and trust them. And so I said, I really would like some show and some other types of those types of teas. And so they're going to send me a bunch of these samples. And so I'm going to get to try them out. And that's what I really enjoy. It's exciting. I love the 70s. Yes, well, it's a fan favorite. It's definitely the most wholesome way to get high that I've come across. It's it gets you very, very tea drunk if you're susceptible to that, and then it's there's no real there's nothing bad from it, which is nice. And it's a great all-round, if you want to try a tea that's 40, 50 years old, you try that tea and you're like, okay, I understand 40 to 50-year-old teas now. It's got all the flavors. It's got the mouth feel, the body feel. There's better ones for sure, right? There's better ones. But pound for pound, bang for your buck, the 1970s is probably the best aged. The 1980 Narcissus Oolong from Wuyi, that's actually from China. That one is, I like the name because, if you brew it just correct, just the right way, you can get daffodil flavor. But as soon as you get that daffodil flavor, then you're going to oversteep it or do something wrong to it. And then you're going to be like, as soon as you get that narcissism, right? So you get that little bit of look how good I am, then it just knocks you in the face and you're like, oh no, I ruined it. And then the next steep after that usually has it back again. It's a fun tea. It's got it's a tea for expert brewers, for mindful brewers. It's not cheap, right? It's extraordinarily expensive. But if you like that type of stuff, you like that challenge, then the 1980s Wuyi is so much fun, right? It's so much fun because it really does. It's got the daffodil flavors in it. Which I didn't really know that Narcissus is just daffodil. I had to look it up actually, which is interesting. I've had some very interesting experiences with the tea from the monks. I believe the purple bud. Been a while since I've caught one of those. Hope all is well. Yes, well, I miss those teas a lot. And okay, yeah, I'll tell you the gossip if you want to know the gossip. Well, I'll tell you the gossip anyways. So the deal is those teas, there was the guy up there and he was a monk. We won't go into full gossip. We'll just go into the gossip about this particular guy. And he made some pretty decent tea. He made like so many different kinds of tea, but the purple bud, tuochas, and those types of things were so good. Like they were so good. But he's a monk, not a businessman. And so he couldn't make money. And they needed money. And so he basically got displaced because they said, okay, we're going to give somebody else a chance to make money up there and be the tea master. And so the guy who went up there, who is running it now, quite a nice man. I've tried to go and see him a couple times, but he's, I guess this is maybe the third year he's taken over from the old tea master. And so he's making some okay teas, some decent teas, but he still hasn't figured it out. And he doesn't know how to make the purple bud anything. So he doesn't really know how to make the purple bud anything, which is, for me, pretty disappointing. So that's why there hasn't been very much monk tea for the last couple of years. It's because they sort of shifted it out. And, what are you supposed to do? It's not monks. The point of monks is not to make money, but at the same time, they're trying to make money from it. And so you've got this obviously this very weird thing. And I'm a guy who I'm willing to pay, right? I'm willing to pay, but I'm not willing to pay too much, right? And so, anyways, it's a strange dynamic, and until the tea is like 100% good, it's really hard for me to get it. But I actually found one of those on the move. One of those old purple bud tuochas, and I've been drinking it because there is no tea like this. Is a happy tea, right? This is the Firefly Milk Oolong. This is a happy tea. When I drink this tea, I love it. It makes me happy. But that tea, the purple bud tuocha, there is no tea I've ever come across ever that is so joyous. It's just a joyous tea. The flavor, the body feel, the mouth feel, everything about it is just happy, right? It's just a happy tea. And I hope we can, I hope they start making it again. I'll make a point of going up to visit them, I think, one of these days. Interesting. Yes, the other one was quite mystical. Very unique energy in those. Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing with very unique energy. It's really hard to produce, and it's really hard to produce consistently. Right? It's really hard to produce consistently, and so so if you do have one of those kicking around, cherish it. I do not know when or if that will ever happen again. I do not know when or if that will ever happen again, but I hope it does. I hope it does, because it's definitely one of my favorite teas. Okay, that's about it for today. So to recap, I haven't been doing much on Instagram because I've been holding on to things as things shake. It's not particularly dangerous. Still, even after the 7.2 earthquake and all that type of stuff, there has not been a single bag of tea that has fallen off a shelf. So it's not like it's highly dangerous. It's just unnerving. Like it's just unnerving. And so that's sort of the earthquake updates for right now. And so that's sort of what's been going on. There's absolutely no problems. Yesterday, everything was shut down because we had 1,000 earthquakes in 36 hours. But there's no problem sending and receiving teas and things like that. So no worries about that. All the orders that have been come in will be going out. And yeah, that's about it. Last call for questions or anything like that. Oh, and I'm hoping next week I get to go and travel the island, and I'll probably take my family. I probably will. I don't know. We'll talk about it this week and see. But we'll go around the island and up into the mountains, up to Alishan and to various places, and find some beautiful new tea for you guys. I'm looking forward to it. All the classics will be coming back, sort of the buttermilk oolong and these types of teas. All that stuff's coming back too. Don't worry about that. But I'm looking forward to getting some new teas. The Mr. Chen stuff for sure is something that I'm looking forward to as well. Okay, well, that's it for now. So everybody out there, wherever you happen to be, I certainly hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, and all of that stuff. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next live stream.